So we're going to call this The Progression Exists for a Reason. And we're talking about trying to figure out when you as a provider, when do you want to move from EMT to paramedic? Or really whenever you want to progress either to medic or any of the steps in between. Although, if I'm going to be completely honest, if you are thinking about moving up, just go straight for medic. Anyway, so when do you move? Well, in some ways, I think it's going to depend in large part on who you are, what your comfort level is with what you're doing already. But it's also, I think, going to matter, and it's also going to depend on how serious are you willing to take this? So as with pretty much anything, any job, interest, career, there's going to come a point where you do start to get better at it and you start generally wanting more out of whatever it is that you're doing. You want to get to a higher level. You want to get promoted. You want to be doing things faster and better. All of this is a very good thing. And there are some people who, and we've all known these people, I am certainly not one of them, we've all known these people who it seems like they can just sail through anything. Apparently, they're just so naturally gifted that they can just go to the next level and it doesn't seem to faze them. I'll tell all of you and offer a little bit of hope since, again, I'm not one of these people. There are some people who are very naturally talented when it comes to whatever it is that they're doing, and practicing emergency medicine is no different. But natural talent can help you on this journey, and it will help you make the jump from one level to the next. However, eventually, if you have not set a very good and solid foundation for yourself, you're going to get found out. You can look like a rock star through school. We'll stick with the EMS example. If you are an EMT for a little bit and then the very second that you can, you go to paramedic school, nothing wrong with that. You can do that. And you might be a rock star all the way through school. But what happens when you're through your training and all of a sudden it's, oh, we actually have to do this for real? Now, guess what? You don't have a preceptor there that you can fall back on. You don't have, as my first medic precept point is like, you don't have the easy button that you can hit and ask me a question because it's you. That's your job now. You can get to that point and all of a sudden you might realize, crap, I'm not confident or as confident at this stuff as I thought I was. I don't know as much about this stuff as I thought I did. And that can be a really scary proposition. And it can be very unnerving. It makes people quit. And honestly, this probably applies to any industry and job, but emergency medicine is the world that I know, so that's what we're sticking with here. It can make people leave entirely because they're like, oh man, like this is really scary. And I don't know how to handle this because like I'm way out here on the edge and suddenly I'm trying to walk on a tightrope, but then I realize I didn't practice this very much. So what can you do about that? Well, and this is hard to hear for especially a lot of you younger hard chargers out there who are just really eager and wanting to get to the next level. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing. It's good that you have that kind of drive within you. But the progression exists for a reason. Now, the state where I practiced, and I think most states are like this in terms of EMS, everything runs on a 2-year cycle. So if you you pass your school, you pass your national registry, boom, you're immediately certified, and that's good for 2 years in your state. And you have to do all of your continuing ed and all of your research stuff. Great. That's fantastic. And as long as you do that, you will keep renewing your cert every 2 years. What I would recommend, go through one research cycle, minimum. So 2 years. I think because at that point, and especially if you make a point of saying it's like, no, I'm here, I'm going to stay here for at least 2 years, and I know I'm not even going to try to move, it makes you much more ready and willing to really dig into what you're doing. You start to respect the process more. You start working on those very basic things, which are going to end up being the foundation for the rest of your career. The EMT level, EMT basic, I should say, because that's really what I'm talking about, is jumping from that to anything else. It provides you a chance to really polish and refine those first basic skills, and it gives you a solid foundation. And if you do that for, I would say, at least 2 years, and you practice within the full scope of whatever your EMT allows you to do, you can get pretty proficient at it. You build a good foundation, and you're going to get to the point to where all those basic skills that you have, you're going to do them until you can't get them wrong. That's a good place to be. That is a solid foundation. That's what I would want you to build first. Because if you build that foundation, then you say, okay, I've got both feet on the ground. I feel like I've stretched my abilities and my skills as much as I can within the protocols as I'm allowed to. Now I want to take the next step. You are making that move from a position of strength. You're not just counting down the days until it's like, I've hit the minimum requirements, now let's go. Some people can do that. Some people can do that. They make that jump and they survive. But if you are just trying to survive rather than if you really are thoughtful about it and say, I'm going to really try to polish my skills and my competency all the way through this block of time that I know I'm going to be at this level, you can get pretty good. And again, you will have a much better position and foundation to which you can move from. Because what I really would hate to happen is what I described of what happens to some people in the first part of this. Some people, they do the minimum that they have to. They jump up. They jump up to that next level, or they try to, and then they get told, I'm sorry, you're not good enough to be here and to be doing this right now. So you know what happens? You get put back through, you have to recycle. Sometimes you have to redo orientation. Sometimes you never make it off orientation. That happened to me. That happened to me because I made some very emotional decisions, and I didn't move from a position of strength. And it cost me what could have been a pretty cool job. Now, hindsight being 2020, given what happened with the organization that I was at, I'm actually very glad that it did. But at the time, that was a pretty devastating thing that I had to go through. 90% of the job of being a paramedic, which is the level that if you're in EMS and you're going to do this for a long time, I would say that's the level you should be striving to get to. 90% of that is doing EMT basic stuff, but just doing it really, really well. It's cliche. Everyone has said this. EMT comes before P. Respect the process. I promise you it's worth it. So, just a little lesson for all of you if you're feeling a little stuck or if you're just really excited to move on. Not a bad thing at all. Be smart about it. Do it from a position of strength. Thanks for sticking around. See you on the next one.